And welcome back to another edition of Official Word Sports. I'm Vince. And I think I'm with my co-host. Where are you at? Are you in the Jets hangar, Stevie
I'm in the
D?
Jets hangar, baby. Come on now. Hanging out.
Look at that. All right. Well, I'm here with my co-host, Stevie D, who is live from the Jets hangar. Gotta love technology these days. Looking good over there. Looking real good. Stevie D, this is our week 6 in the NFL show. I'm riding high. I'm not gonna lie. But you take it one game at a time. I tried to downplay last week's game. Um, it's and you laugh, but I'm true to that, right? A win is a win, and I'm happy for the win. But you have a goal at the end of the year, and just because you win a regular season game doesn't mean that you're going to end up where you want to be in that promised land, right? But compared to last year, where we had some, we went into Arrowhead or Geisha Stadium or whatever they want to call it, but we went in there. We won last year. It didn't work out for us in the postseason, right? And we lost to Jacksonville, which was a tough loss to Jacksonville. I just think that we took it for granted. Had the tough loss to Tennessee. Those are games that you should win and that you want to win. And so that's when I look at this past week's game. Yes, I'm high, I'm happy, but as I say it each time, I give you that coach speak, one game at a time, 1 week at a time. So, I like the performance out there, and I like what the guys did. We'll get into that a little bit more. And your Jets on the other side, we're going to go in a little bit depth with your Jets on the other side. You guys laid the proverbial opened up a can of whoop ass, right? I mean, it was something else over there. So you guys, and especially watching you guys rise in the power rankings, right? I think Stevie D, and I'll let you jump in here. Sorry, I think that we called it, right? But I don't think we expected this, right? This isn't exactly what we called, but we called that they're on the verge.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of things, right? They're winning on the road, 3-0 on the road.
Huge.
They've come back,
huge,
right? We talked about it last week. Double-digit come from behind wins in the fourth quarter. They've done that one. They've put a team away in the fourth quarter with a small lead, and they put them away. They now dominated. Even though the score didn't dictate it in the first half, but they dominated the Green Bay Packers from start to finish.
Sure.
Right?
So yeah, it's to watch what you guys did this past week to the Packers. Now, is it the Packers of the Packers that we know, or is it the Packers of the Packers by the name, right? But I really do like what you guys are doing. So we're going to go in a little bit more depth and detail about, your Jets and your victory. And just remember, you're still in second place. Just remember that.
Hey, man, we're up and coming, buddy. It's all right. It's a lot better than we were last year. We were last place last year at this time, so it's all good.
Indeed. So, Stevie D, in all fairness to those teams there in the NFC, right, we gave Jay his time, his due, as his Eagles were flying high, right? It hurt listening to that, right? Because, anytime you have to listen to Eagle fan, oh, man. So we had to be fair. So we had to go with the Cowboys. I don't know which one's worse. I don't know which one's better, right? But at least for this one, we were able to get Carolina Teague, and we're going to bring her on. Just very interesting and listen about the Cowboys. There she is.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how are you, Carolina?
I'm doing good. How are you? I have no complaints.
Very good. So, Carolina, for everybody who's watching our podcast, Carolina is the Cowboys analyst for 97.5 in Houston. Also, you do other things besides football, right? Spurs insider, a ring announcer. What? Before we even get into the Cowboys, talk to me about the ring announcer.
So it kind of just fell into my lap, just being able to do ring announcing for wrestling, and I'm a wrestling ring announcer for one of the biggest promotional companies in San Antonio, River City Wrestling. We are a pro wrestling company, and I've been blessed to be able to introduce Hall of Fame wrestlers from the WWE, up and coming wrestlers who made it to the WWE. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Now, are you a wrestling fan?
I am now. At first, I wasn't a fan, but now that I'm like older and like I've done a lot of wrestling announcing, I'm totally into it. And I'm one of those people that gets triggered when you say it's fake. Like,
I was just gonna say, now it's not real, right?
Yeah, that triggers me. It is totally real, and people are putting their lives on the line. And the action is 100% real. So there's things that have happened in the ring where they tell us, this is going to happen during the show. And the complete opposite has happened. The complete opposite. People have gotten arrested. People have gotten, broken things at our venues, bleeding, thrown on top of nails, thrown on top of chairs and wood, and this is all real. So I mean, they're really putting their bodies on the line. So it's crazy. It's actually really fun.
All right, I'll temper my comments about wrestling a little bit.
Yes, if you do say that, what they'll do is they will invite you into the ring, so they'll show you how real it is.
Yeah. I think we need to set that up. I think we need to set that up.
Bill's Mafia, that we'll have the tables. You know how we roll.
Exactly.
So, Carolina, obviously, we focus a lot on the AFC East. We talk NFL. We go all throughout. My co-host Stevie D, who big Jets fan, sitting there in the Jets hangar behind him. I'm Bill's Mafia, ride or die. And last week we had a member who used to be part of our podcast who is a diehard Eagles fan. I don't know why, I don't know how, and I'm sorry, right? But you have to have goodwill, right? So if we brought him on, we had to bring you on, and we want you to talk about the Cowboys. And really, we've been talking a lot about what's going on there in Big D, right? So whether it be obviously Dak, whether it be Zeke, whether it be Jerry, whether it be CeeDee Lamb, whether it be Micah Parsons, right? You could go down the list, right? CeeDee Lamb is probably my favorite because of the video from his draft, right? Just the whole phone snatching. That was the greatest thing ever that I could ever see in a draft, right? And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, when he got the call, he was sitting there with his mom and his sister and whoever. And to the left side was his girlfriend, right? By the way, former girlfriend of Trey Young for the Hawks.
Trey Young with the Hawks, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yep. And so she's sitting there. Now, we know if she's just saying. Anyways, has the phone right there. And she decides as he gets the call, she's going to go grab the phone, right? Very nonchalant, too. I mean, she had skills, right? She just kind of put the hand over there to grab the phone. And there goes CeeDee Lamb, like, pulling it back. But that was great. The best part of it was the mom on the other side, like, giving her the cross eye, like, I know you did not just try to take my son's phone, right? So yeah. I've been CD fat after that.
A lot of people they think he, showed dominance when he snatched his phone back. So, I mean, it was just that whole part where the mom gave him the stank eye. And I think too, like, if I was somebody's girlfriend, well, I'm not, right? I'm not a future NFL player's girlfriend, but let's just say that I was. I kind of want to play it cool. I'm not going to snatch your phone. I'm just going to be like, good job, babe, because I'm in it for the long run. But, maybe, I'm like I don't want to sound like a plotting opportunist, but that's what I would have done.
Right?
I feel like she kind of jumped out the window. She didn't have to snatch his phone. Like we don't have to do that no more. We just need to just chill, lay back, and I think that's what men like the most. Well, not all men, some men. So I can't speak for all men.
Carolina, I think we're heading towards. We have a show called OW Sports After Dark, We have yet to air OW Sports After Dark, but we're just going to leave it right there, right?
We got to do it. I mean, if we're going in the direction that I think you're going to go in with that show, because it sounds like kind of like BET after Uncut, you know?
Yes,
Like
yes.
we're going in that direction. If we're going to do that, you got to have me on that one too. Because that sounds like
we'll bring you back for that one. But, this one technically is listed as kid-friendly, so we have to be careful. And this guy over here, you got to watch out for this guy. He gets really passionate. And when he gets passionate, we have all kinds of triggers and buttons to kind of keep it in control.
Yeah, well, how come I'm the only one that gets the button? That's what I want to know.
Because I have control of the button.
That's not fair. That is not fair.
That's what I'm saying.
We need 2 buttons, and you guys need to be able to cut each other's mic off.
Whoa.
Yes.
No, because I've had my mic cut off me before. It doesn't feel fun. And he is one of my good friends who cut my mic off, by the way. But he laughs about it to this day because he's like, I can cut your mic off. And no, well, let me cut your mic off sometimes. You know what I mean?
He just bleeps me. He just bleeps me, goes to a blank screen, and he just bleeps me out. I'm
when you think about how good the Jets are, he just shuts me off.
You understand my pain.
Now, I'm going to warn you. I still have this trigger figure right here ready to go. So
but it's like once you have the power, it's kind of hard to like not want to use the power. So I get it. But I feel like there should be 2 buttons. There should be 2 buttons. Both y'all should be able to cut each other's mics off. And then we'll see who's really petty at that point. You know what I mean?
But he's got the applaud button, right? So he can applaud for everything that I say.
Okay.
We're good there.
Not even sit out because if you're talking about how trash your team is, he can applaud that, and then be petty that way, right?
Yeah.
Hold up.
Well, the insensitive people, we have to have the power, right?
No, hold up. Did you say that my Bills were trash?
No, they're not trash. I don't think
okay.
They're actually my personal pick to win the Super Bowl. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I was like, I think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. And I've actually been to the Bills facility, covered the Bills before, interviewed some Bills rookies, felt like I was in. I loved the stadium too, by the way. Just seeing OJ's number up there. I love, the Bills organization. They're super classy, class acts. So, I like the Bills. I heard, I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe you can tell me because you're a diehard, but they told me that when it gets really cold, that if Bills fans shovel the snow off the stadium, they get free tickets. Is that true?
Yeah. They've had really bad snowstorms, and I'm not going to say blizzard because everybody wants to talk about that, but fans will go out there, start all the way from the top and just kind of shovel all the way through to prep the stadium.
Wow.
They have to do that because they can't sell out. So in order for the TV to play, for the game to show up in Buffalo, they have to give away the free tickets.
That makes sense. Well, there was a time where the Bills weren't that great. And I think that's probably
yes, for about 20 years. Now I'm paying for it every day of my life right now because Buffalo.
So again, you're throwing shade. See, this is what I have to deal with, Carolina, right? I'm talking, and my co-host is following a team that doesn't even have their own stadium. They have to basically sublet a little room over there in the state of New Jersey, right? They can't even come back to the state of New York. Thus, the only team that is the true representative of the state of New York is the Buffalo Bills. And thanks to Fox Sports for putting that up and rectifying, talking about. And I know you're ESPN, but there was a meme that was out talking about the top teams in New York, and they were called, to question really quick how the Giants and the Jets both play in New Jersey.
Where is that button?
You're looking for it. I just dropped. It's just facts, right? Spitting bars, spitting knowledge. That's all it is. But Carolina,
you have to bring it up because you're sensitive to your Bills.
I'm not sensitive.
That's the problem with Buffalo. They're so sensitive. See, when you're from downstate New York,
there's a difference.
Broad shoulders.
There's a difference between sensitive and diehard, right? We're diehards.
Diehards are sensitive.
We live, breathe, sleep, eat our Buffalo Bills.
That's all you got.
That's what it is. And our Sabres, who, do you follow hockey, Carolina?
No, and that was another thing that shocked me in Buffalo when I went to Buffalo. Their hockey was on the big screens on the TVs, and I was like, "Yo, what the hell is going on?" Like in Texas, it's always football or basketball on the big screens. Like I never see football on any pretty much any sports place you walk into in Texas, you don't see hockey. So I walked into a sports bar during this Buffalo Bills thing, and I saw like hockey, and I was all over the place, and it wasn't just like one, it was like everywhere, and I was like, is this like a big deal over here? And then like the girls that I was with, they were like, yes, like everybody loves hockey up here, like it's Canada, we're by Canada, like we all love hockey. And I just was flabbergasted. I was just like, I cannot believe people like love hockey like this. I always thought like it was small, but no, like they have diehard hockey people up north. So that was
It's my second favorite sport, by far my second favorite sport.
Yeah.
Love hockey. Matter of fact, my Sabres are playing today.
Really, I need to get more into it. I really wish I watched hockey, but unfortunately, like here, they don't promote it. So, I'm a victim of marketing all the time. So I cover primarily basketball and football, but I really want to start getting into hockey because I want to get into the Blackhawks. That's going to be my team.
No, come to the Sabres. Come to the Sabres. From Chicago?
I'm from Chicago, so I wanna be a
all right. All right, that's fine.
Now, because I was curious in where the Blackhawks would have come from Texas. So
yeah, so I'm from Chicago, so I cover the Cowboys, but I'm actually a Bears fan. But I like, I have to watch Cowboys too, so I like Cowboys too.
So let's talk about these Cowboys. As Jerry would say, or Jimmy would say, how about those Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
There's so much to cover, right? I want to get into the juicy gossip. I forget all the Dak and the Zeke. I want to get into the gossip. What went down between Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft?
What went down?
Yes, because
wait, what? What did I miss?
It was like a soap opera at the owners' meeting, right? So they're having the owners' meeting, and they were talking about the extension and the contract for Roger Goodell. Somewhere along the line, it broke out into a geriatric retirement fight between Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft, right? Jerry Jones said, Robert Kraft, you stole my Jell-O. And Robert Kraft said, no, that's my pudding. And they were going, but no, in all seriousness, it got into expletives going back and forth between the two. It was, but I don't have all the details, right?
Jerry said, don't F with me.
Yes.
Don't F with me, right?
Yes.
FIM. No, I'm just kidding. No, but what I think about this is, to me, this is like first world problems. Like, that's what I think about this stuff. Like, first world problems, there's bigger fish to fry. You guys are billionaires. Figure it out. I hate when power hungry people get egotistical and they like to pull out since it's not after dark show, they like to show how big their shoes are, right? And I'm just like, I don't like when people get into those type of arguments and then start getting egotistical and start throwing low blows to each other. You guys are grown men and you guys are billionaires. You need to conduct yourselves with professionalism and class and get it together, because you're not only representing yourself, you're representing your organization as well. So you just sound like egotistical maniacs. Like, it was obviously between Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones, not the other owners. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the other owners that we never hear about. It's always the same owners. Like, you hear about Mark Cuban all the time. You hear about Jerry Jones all the time. You hear about Robert Kraft all the time. Like, relax. And then it always makes the news. So, it is what it is. Good marketing for him.
Sure. Well, you're right. It's the Billionaires Boys Club that's over there, right? And
Billionaire Boys Club, like first world problems. Like, figure it out. Figure it out. There was contract issues. They didn't want, too much money going into like some bonuses or some compensation. I don't know what the issues were, but have a regular conversation, like regular adults. At what point do we have show maturity with ourselves. Like, regular folks like us, we can never get away with that stuff. Like, I can't sit here and tell somebody, do you know who the F I am? Because they're going to be like, who the F are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who are you? Like, we can't just do that. I just wish these people would just relax sometimes and just conduct themselves with class. Like, stop acting like animals or stop acting like children. How about that? Children.
There you go. There you go. So the other one that they had there, and you're right, because that one was primarily based on Goodell's contract, right? And Jones wanted it to be more of an incentive base, and I still, there's some tie-in between Kraft and Goodell, right? He's done him solids all the way since Spygate, all the way through, right? And there has to be that bit of loyalty in there. And I think everybody knows it, right? Or at least, well, we know it. And I think that the other owners know it. And so, but the other one was, and we'll wait to see how this happens, goes against your other rival, or the Cowboys' other rival, that being the Washington Commanders, where you had Irsay and Snyder going at it, right? I mean, this whole meeting was great, right? If you wanted to just get some popcorn, right, and just sit around the side, this was the one. And so Irsay's going at Snyder.
The Dan Snyder, I mean, I kind of like where he's going with this. Like, yes, I just told everybody to grow up, but I also like where he's like, I have gas on all of you guys. Like, I'm not the one you can play with because I'm going to make this all public and I'm just going to air it all out, right? That would be great. Now, if you air out everything to the public and we all get to pull you down, that would be great. But if not, and you guys are just going to, egotistically go back and forth, I don't like that. But I like the whole Dan Snyder where he's kind of going with that, where he's willing to spill all the NFL secrets. Because at the end of the day, like right now where I'm at, considering all the things that the NFL has been through in the past few years, I want to know their secrets. I want to know how they really feel. I want to know what's.
I think that's where everybody's at, right? Everybody wants to know the deep dark secrets because they keep it all in house. That antitrust, I want that antitrust broken. Honestly,
I don't think we really want to know, guys, because when it comes out, there's so much that goes so far back, right? That you're going to hear stuff. And that could be the demise, right? If that got all of that got leaked.
Yeah, but you think about what?
Oh, okay. Some people we need a demise. Like for the example, the Chicago Bears. If Dan Snyder were to air out the McCaskey family, and we get to fire them as owners, that would be the best thing that ever happened to us because we have been wanting them to sell the team for so long. All we need as fans is ammunition, and we could just buy you. We know you guys are money hungry. We know you guys don't care about this team. We know you guys are the 5th highest grossing NFL team and still have one of the worst records and can't even develop a playoff team. So that would be great to have some ammunition and just get rid of these people that don't care about the team, that don't care about winning. I could say the Bills care about winning. I could say the Jets even care about winning. But I can't say my team cares about winning. My team, the people who are bottom barrel teams, the teams who don't have winning records, but they create a lot of revenue, those are the owners that I want to see taken down because they care about profit over winning.
Well,
that is true.
To add on to that point, I look at it as the NFL owners is like a good old boy network. And so you got to get rid of, if it comes out, hopefully you can force and sell some of these owners and get the good old boy network out and get different owners in that are more inclusive. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, even inclusive or just more like fair all around and care and passionate about winning. Just passionate about winning. Some team owners, I can tell they don't care about winning. They may say they do, but their lack of change in management that continues to develop a product every single year that's losing.
Denver. You said that about Ryan Pace, right, with the Bears. How long did Ryan Pace survive there as the GM of the Bears? I mean, he was a debacle there.
He was, but it's more than that. It's deeper than that. It's Ted McCaskey. It's George McCaskey. They've ran out everybody. They fire everybody and recycle people every couple of years. And according to Mike Ditka, that's not how you build a championship team. You keep the same people around you. Then you have Ted Phillips, who's a president of football operations, and he doesn't know a lick of football. He's an accountant, but he's bringing in a lot of money. They don't care.
No, that's true. So, all right, we'll put the owners to one side. Now we got to get to the other juicy story, which is Dak is back. That's all I'm hearing. Dak is back. Cooper Rush, he did his thing, but Dak is back. How long will Dak be back for?
Until he gets the next injury.
Right? It's interesting because, and I'm not sure if it was Kellen Moore, I'm not sure if it was McCarthy, and let me know from your perspective. It seemed like the play calling changed, just the whole aura of the offense changed when you had Cooper Rush. And if you would have kept that, or if you would have had that when Dak was there, I think you would have seen more consistency from the offensive side of the ball. And now that Dak comes back, does he go back to his favoritism of Zeke? Does he go to, well, I mean, you're struggling with the wide receivers, but.
Yeah, here's what I think. I think it was a Kellen Moore thing. Kellen Moore pretty much controls the offensive side of the ball. And Dak naturally, feeds Zeke, feed Michael Gallup. That's kind of what he likes to do for the most part. Michael Gallup was injured. He just came off his injury about, was it the game against the Rams, I think is when he came back. And Cooper Rush threw a touchdown pass to him. Michael Gallup had a decent game, but Noah Brown was also a football wide receiver on the team, and Cooper Rush had played with him in college. So there was a lot of great plays from Noah Brown because Kellen Moore and Cooper Rush and them developed plays to where he can not only pass to CeeDee Lamb, but also Noah Brown too. So you saw him utilizing him a lot more. And then, of course, they kind of had to shorten the playbook a little bit because it's Cooper Rush. He's a backup QB, and they relied more on their ground game for the several games, especially with the game against the Rams. They used the ground game 62% of the time. And then you have the good 1-2 punch of Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, and everybody's saying feed Zeke because he's the one getting paid the most, but you saw Tony Pollard having a lot of production as well. So, between them utilizing the ground game really effectively and Cooper Rush not having any interceptions up until the Eagles game, that was why they were very, very successful. But I also give a lot of credit to the Dallas Cowboys defense as well. Micah Parsons, it was a lot of sacks. He was the NFL defensive player or NFC defensive player of the week after the Rams game. He is just very, very effective on the defensive side of the ball. And then you have Leighton Vander Esch, people like that on there. And I give a lot of credit to Dan Quinn as well as their defensive coordinator. And Mike McCarthy, I have to give him credit, even though I don't want to. But, I mean, they all have done a good job with time management. Penalties were an issue in the preseason, and they were able to manage their penalties as well. And then it blew up in the Eagles game.
So, Carolina, you may have seen the smile between Stevie D and myself when you mentioned Mike McCarthy, only because last year I went out on a limb. I mean, out on a limb? And I said Mike McCarthy would be the NFL Coach of the Year. And we know how that turned out last year. So, really didn't go in our favor. Hey, there's my cousin, DJ Coles, in the house. But we saw how that turned out. So, obviously, I'm not going to do that again. Not a big fan of McCarthy, but I just thought that everything was primed for that, right? You had guys coming back from injury. You had bringing in Micah Parsons, who we knew was a stud. It just everything laid out. One last thing, while we talk about your Cowboys, and we do appreciate you coming on, and you will be back for OW Sports After Dark. That's for sure.
Yeah, I want to. That's the one I'm looking for.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you. But you mentioned Zeke and Pollard, right? And we have talked about it. And And as we talk about it, you saw Stevie D, his face light up. Stevie D, I'll let you take it away, and then I'll jump back in on that because I have a
so I had one of those bold predictions in the preseason that I see Tony Pollard as RB1 before the end of the year. I said before the end of the year, Tony Pollard be RB1, and so. With you being so close to the Dallas Cowboys and everything, where do you see Tony Pollard compared to Zeke? Do you see something like that happening? And do you see Zeke even being on the roster next year?
Now, wait, hold on. Is this for your keeper fantasy league? Is that what you're trying to find out? Are you trying to pump for insider information?
No, I just like Tony Pollard, man. I just think he's the real deal. Not a lot of running back RB2s. When they get promoted to the top running back, a lot of times they falter. Because they have good stats as the secondary, but when they get put in the main spot, they kind of falter. And I look at Tony Pollard and I say, man, he's complete in my eyes. So I was curious on what your opinion is of Tony Pollard, and do you foresee him taking over the top spot in Dallas?
I think your opinion is kind of the consensus of like everybody's opinion down here. Like everybody wants Tony Pollard to be QB1, even as early as last year. Like you said, like last year is when you started formulating that opinion. It's because he's aggressive, he's explosive, he gets good yardage as running back too. And my thing is this. I also feel for Ezekiel Elliott too, because Ezekiel Elliott is always getting double teamed, right? Sometimes he might be getting triple teamed. That's one of the reasons why he's not been productive. And to go back on your point of Mike McCarthy being coach of the year, I would have never said that because Mike McCarthy, when he was coaching for the Packers, he never utilized the running game. And he had Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, and they only won one Super Bowl, and they never put anybody on the offensive side of the ball until they drafted his predecessor, Jordan Love. So Aaron Rodgers and the Packers organization were really in a bad place, and him and Mike McCarthy had a bad relationship. But back to what he was doing as a coach, he never utilized the running game, and he also didn't discipline the Dallas Cowboys the year before as well. They weren't as disciplined. Discipline has been a problem for them. So I wouldn't pick Mike McCarthy as my favorite, because if he can't make Aaron Rodgers a goddamn I'm sorry for cursing. If he can't make Aaron Rodgers a goddamn Super Bowl champion, like the way that Tom Brady can be a Super Bowl champion, then he's never going to be on my list of somebody who could be coach of the year ever.
Oh, hold on.
Ever. But
discipline and the Dallas Cowboys do not even belong in the same contextual sentence.
That's what I'm
this
saying.
Goes back to the 70s.
I know.
I mean, you look at what happened in the 70s. You look at what happened with the run when they had with Jimmy in that group, right? They had the White House.
Cowboys in the 90s.
There you go. It was the White House or whatever they called it.
Yeah, it is a Cowboys thing, but also like a penalty. They had penalty issues too. So like penalties really can cost a game, and you need to tighten your team up. And he had issues with time management too. So I would never pick him as my coach of the year. But to the Tony Pollard thing, sorry, I just kind of jumped on a rant. Tony Pollard, my thing about him is like, yes, he is capable of being running back one, and they could get rid of Zeke, but I don't think they'd get rid of Zeke because Zeke is garbage now. I think Zeke has a lot more pressure on him. I think they more get rid of him because his contract is so big.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they would get rid of him, just to save money. I think they made a huge mistake by when they were re-signing all these players, Dak, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper. They had gotten rid of him though, but when they were assessing the contracts, the first person that they signed out of all those people was their running back, Ezekiel Elliott. Mm-hmm. And we all know in the NFL, don't sign your running back to huge long-term contracts. So I think they would get rid of Zeke because of money, not necessarily because of production. But Tony Pollard, as somebody who produces, he could easily be running back one because of how good he plays.
So you brought up the money, right? So you pay Dak. Zeke's got a big contract, and then you trade Amari Cooper, right? And I look at the Cowboys offense, and I just don't know with the loss of Amari Cooper. I think they're really missing Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. And I was curious if the fans and you guys all think the same way that, man, if we still had Amari Cooper,
Oh yeah.
Like what this offense could really be. But we traded that $20 million a year contract to save the money, right? Save the money maybe to reuse it in other players as you got to re-sign because you can only have so many $20 million players, right? The money runs out, right? And you're paying Zach at 40, 45 million. So, but where does the trade of Amari Cooper? I mean, Gallup just came back, but he's not Amari Cooper, right? He's not Amari Cooper. Cedric Wilson left. I think he's in Miami, right? And so now you have CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, I think is who you mentioned before. You got Schultz, the tight end, right? But to me, Amari Cooper, you're missing Amari. And so what are your thoughts on that?
So I think Amari Cooper played well. They got him from the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
But one of the reasons why they got rid of him, what the rumor is because on that final drive of the Cowboys game and their wild card loss to the 49ers, he had a critical lackluster performance. And they said that he didn't want to show up. He kind of pulled a Dennis Rodman, like when Dennis Rodman didn't want to play in the Western Conference Finals with Hakeem Olajuwon. He kind of just bowed out and let David Robinson get slaughtered. It was kind of the same thing with Amari Cooper. He had lack of effort in that final play. He didn't even want to go in. So they were like, okay, you're not a team player, so let's just get rid of you. So if you were to ask like diehard Dallas Cowboys fans, they'd probably be like, no, we're better off without him because he gets all emotional and in his feelings. And if he has issues with Mike McCarthy's play calling, he's not going to want to play. So that's justified in that aspect. But as far as talent is concerned, I do think that they need a wide receiver who is good like Amari Cooper. So I do think that they are missing somebody from their wide receiver core, and their wide receiver core was way more explosive when Amari Cooper was there. So I definitely agree with you in that aspect.
So the follow up on that playoff game real quick. Mm-hmm. Did you see that, or did you notice that with Amari Cooper that he was checked out in that game, if you will, if that's the right word to use?
I didn't until the fans were pointing it out, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I can see why they thought that he wasn't passionate in that final drive."
Yeah, but the only thing that I would question on that,
you know what I mean? It's one drive, but you know how people hate one person for like one play or one drive? Like I hate one player for one play. You know what I mean? There's one player who I will never forgive for one play.
Tony Romo?
No, it's Chris Conte. Chris Conte. I do not like him at all. Like he ruined the Bears' opportunity to get into the playoffs, and they were going up against the Packers. All we need to do is win that game and stop the Packers on 4th and 8. Everybody was where they're supposed to be at on the line, and Chris Conte blew coverage, and they ended up getting a touchdown, and the Bears ended up losing their playoff chances. The whole city of Chicago hated him, and we'll never forget that. The same thing with that final drive with Amari Cooper. There's some plays and some drives that people never forget when they're diehards, and that Amari Cooper drive really pissed people off.
But here's the thing with that, right, is that do you take a small snippet of, or do you look at the overall picture, right? When I watch Amari Cooper, he does not exude that hyped up, type persona, right? And, if you look at it, whether it be from the opening kickoff first play of the series to whether it be at the 59th minute, right, he's got that same demeanor. Now, you could say, when it's clutch time, he just looked like he wasn't in it, but he looked like he wasn't in it, when they had the opening series. So I think it's a little unfair to pin that when maybe that's just
who he
his
is.
persona.
Yeah, and Raiders fans were coming out. That's why we got rid of him, because he's like that. They said stuff like that. So was Amari Cooper vital parts of the wide receiver core? I think so, because I think they were way stronger when they had Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb. Boom. Yeah. And they were like one of the top. They were the top offensive line in the NFL in the regular season 2 years ago. And that was the core at the time. So yeah, I do think that Amari Cooper was an important piece. Do I think he was worth that? What was it? $40 million he was getting paid a year or something crazy like that. Yeah. No. So if his money would have been shorter, yes, keep him, because he's not that guy who's like aggressive and explosive when he needs to be there. But to pay him that amount, and then that's who you are supposedly, then no, he's not worth it.
Yeah. So one more thing before we wrap it up here, and again, appreciate you coming on. My cousin came back, and he dropped a little note in here saying the Cowboys are a team built to run with a QB who wants to throw. I think that's very true, right?
Uh-huh.
When they brought Dak, thinking about you, Stevie D, with Zach. When they brought Dak in, right, it was to be that throwing quarterback, but yet you had Zeke, right? You've always had an emphasis on the running game. And so, especially when you look at today's game, right, you're looking at the carries by the running backs. First of all, they split it up amongst 2 or 3 running backs. So those carries are diminished. And then you look at what the quarterbacks are doing, throwing 40, 50 times a game. There's not that balance. And if you have the mindset that your ideology is going to be a run-first team, but you got a guy who is, I want to be a throw-first quarterback, it doesn't equal the right balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like drafting a guy in man to play zone. It doesn't fit the team.
That makes sense. I mean, I do agree they're a team that's built to run with a quarterback who wants to throw. And maybe the test of Dak Prescott being out and them having to shorten the playbook and utilize the run game, which I've been wanting them to do, because remember I told you they don't like to run well, but now it's the playbook's in Kellen Moore's hands. They ran the ball a whole lot more in those past games, and they were winning.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say about that. So yes, they are a team that's built to run. I agree. And what pissed me off about the Eagles game was that the times where they should have been running the ball, they were throwing it. They're trying.
I smile because Jay is watching. Just so you know, Jay's the Eagles fan. He's been chiming in with his fly, Eagles fly.
And let me just say this: the Eagles deserve to win, and I predicted them to win because they coming into the game. They're the better team. It was obvious.
Think so.
They were. It was obvious. It was obvious that the Eagles were the better team. They know how to adjust to every single team that they're playing against. They have insane run pass options that they're running, and that they were able to effectively use the RPOs in their favor, especially on that final drive of the game when they needed to get that touchdown. Anthony Brown blew coverage because they had a nice RPO play set up into the end zone. So no, I think that the Eagles knew how to adjust, and they were just overall the better team. They have a good offense, a good defense, good special teams, and they have good corners, and they pretty much have the same amount of talent, in my opinion, as the Cowboys do.
Stevie, do you know what she's doing? She's pulling one of our moves. That's exactly what she's doing. She's pulling one of our moves.
I need to know the move.
You're over complimenting, right? So you can drop the boom on it. That's okay. I saw that.
Wait for the rematch when Dallas plays the SmackDown. No, the Eagles will put their bumps. We knew exactly what they were.
Oh my God!
All of a sudden, I'm listening to this.
I just noticed the lower third. That's hilarious.
Oh, the Brett Favre?
Hilarious. Yes, I'm cracking up right now.
Yeah, we're on a crusade since the mainstream media does not want to cover Brett Favre and all the shenanigans and the way that he has taken money from the impoverished there in Mississippi to try to build a volleyball stadium and some other things. The way he's taken money from his own charity to do the same thing. All the things that if you talk about, us being regular people, right? If us regular people had done that, yeah, we would have been getting a new piece of jewelry, some silver bracelets, clink, clink, the whole night, right? But Brett, he's sending text messages. Don't let us get started. But yes, Brett does need to go to jail.
No, I agree with you. I went on a huge rant because like I've said on my podcast, I have Podcast League of Our Own. It's every Wednesdays at 6:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's on Twitter Live and Facebook Live if you guys ever want to check it out. When I said on my podcast was
Whoa, did you see how smooth she slid that in? And it just slid that right in. Yeah, I said that on my podcast. It comes on it.
Back in the day, and this might, what I'm gonna say right now is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, that I'm just gonna put that disclaimer right there. Back in the day, I applied for food stamps. Okay, I applied for food stamps, no, knowing that I had extra income, right? But I still wanted food stamps because I was desperate at the time and I couldn't afford food stamps. I couldn't afford stuff. I never applied for food stamps. I have worked so hard my whole life. I've paid my taxes my whole life. I wanted some damn food stamps because I was a single mom at the time. And I was like, look, I need some food, right? They caught me so quick.
Mm-hmm.
They found out the truth about me so quick. They went through my W-2s with a fine-tooth comb. They went through my tax returns with a fine-tooth comb. They caught me, and I canceled the contract. So, like I said, this is for entertainment purposes only. I canceled the application. There's no fraud involved. I'm okay. All right? No fraud. That's all I'm going to say about me.
Mm-hmm.
But they caught me so quick. This fool right here, Brett Favre, is a famous quarterback. And y'all can't tell me that y'all couldn't have caught that he was made $100 million throughout his career, and he was able to scam the Mississippi welfare system. I am so mad because people like us who need the help, because even though I made money at the time, I was still broke. I can't get food stamps. I can't get help with the welfare system, but Brett Favre can. Got it.
Uh-oh.
And that's why we had the scroll going, and that's why
Stevie D, we didn't touch the nerve right here. I watched her.
But that's good, right? That's what we're.
She completely changed from talking about the cat. Yeah, but you're right.
Real talk. No, but I mean, I'm not the only person who has tried to do that and has been through that. So yeah, all of us people, regular folks, all of us regular folk over here, we are on this page right here. Brett Favre needs to go to jail. That's where we're at.
That's right. Well, listen, Carolina, loved having you on. I want you to come back. We hope you enjoyed it, right? And as you know, we do have OW Sports After Dark. We do have the regular one, right? And so you're welcome to either one. We're just waiting to do the other one, but we'll see how it goes. But no, we loved having you. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys for having me on. I'm so happy you guys invited me.
If anything else you want to, because I saw how you slid real smooth in there. I like that. Anything else you want to give a shout out to or promote real quick?
Just support me on social media at Carolina Teague _ on Instagram and on Twitter, on Facebook as well. And I have a League of Our Own podcast. I have podcast too. I talk about things that bother me, like this Brett Favre situation. I talk about all kinds of sports except for hockey, so you might not like it. But I talk about everything that's hot topics, all that stuff. I'm on ESPN Houston. I'm your favorite Monday night quarterback the day after the Dallas Cowboys games on the Late Hit Show, and then I'm also going to be the Spurs analyst on ESPN San Antonio. And I'm also a writer too. I write for Sports Tonight, Pounding the Rock, Sports is Told by a Girl. I'm just all over the damn place, so you know where to find me.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for their show.
Big up.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. So we'll stay in contact. Thank you so much.
Thanks Carolina.
For having me on, guys.
Yes, have a great night.
You too.
All right, Stevie D. That was fun.
Yeah, I tell you. I mean, she's involved in a lot. I mean, that's
when she started to roll off everything she was doing, I was like, oh my God.
I'm like, I mean, that's just a lot of time that it takes to do it, and writing and very
dedication.
Yeah, absolutely,
for sure. So,
wide range of sports. It's such a right basketball. It's not just one show. It's the wrestling too, and writing. Very very cool.
Yeah, we're gonna link him. I'm gonna bring her into hockey. If she has to go with the Blackhawks, I'm going to get her down with Patrick Kane. At least he's from Buffalo, so we'll do that. Or if she's new, come to the Blue and Gold. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. All right, CBD. That went a little longer. It was fun, but that went a little longer than we expected. So let's, without further ado, I'll let you kind of kick it off. You had a big victory against the Packers. It was a statement game.
It's a statement game for a young football team to beat a well-known veteran quarterback, beat the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau, which doesn't happen very often. I think there's a statistic that came out during the game that Aaron Rodgers, following a loss, that has come home to Lambeau following a loss, has never lost in Lambeau Field.
How many losses you got in there?
Right? No, but you lose the game, you come home, and he hasn't lost at home, right? So he's kind of killed that losing streak when he comes back to Lambeau. So to do that, be the first team that does that. Now, and you touched on it before Carolina joined it. Offensively, they're not the same team with the weapons out on the whiteouts, right? But you know what? They're still very solid defensively. They do have the two-headed monster at running back. And I just thought the Jets just dominated defensively from the start to finish all the way through. They had one hiccup on one drive there in the third quarter. But what was great about it is the Jets answered right back with a touchdown. So as soon as they cut it to 17, it was 17-3 or 17-10, and the Jets went right down the field, jammed it right down the throat, and expanded 24-10. And again, when you're talking about young teams and you're looking about taking that next step, we talked about it a little bit early before Carolina. You're 3-0 on the road, right? But now you're on the road. You just gave up a touchdown to let the team back into the game. And what did you do on the very next time you touched the ball? You went right down the field and scored the touchdown. These are all signs of something special going on for these young kids. And the scheme is all coming together. They're playing for each other. It's a lot of fun. I mean, that front four on Sunday, they were dominant again. This is like 3 weeks in a row. They've been absolute dominant. Quentin Williams has been named the defensive player of the week this week. The third week in a row, the Jets have had the rookie of the week, and 4th out of 6 weeks. You know, those draft picks, and we talked about that. But you know, it's stuff that these young kids are playing well, and they're getting recognized as rookie of the week. So a lot of good things happening for the Jets, for the young kids. A little disappointment today coming out of the Jet camp with Elijah Moore. I'm very disappointed in the second-year player making it about himself. I need my touches, but you're a year and a quarter into your professional career. You just got to settle down, because one game you didn't get targets. How about the other games when you ran downfield and you couldn't get separation? We tried to throw it to you multiple times downfield, right? So sometimes it doesn't go your way on a game plan. Sometimes you're not the focal point. Maybe you just weren't open enough to get the ball. Right, we've seen it through teams all the time where guys didn't get targets. I love the passion that you want the football, but don't come out and do Twitters and all that. To me, you hurt your stock as a player. Is a team going to say, you know what, I want to trade for this guy because you know what? If we don't get on the rock, is he going to then start complaining again? Then he wants out of this team. So you got to be careful for a young player. You can really do damage to yourself. And I love Elijah Moore. I mean, Rich and I, we do a thing that says, you know, we want some more, Elijah Moore, you want some more, right? Because we love Elijah Moore, and it's our thing, you know, during the game when we watch it, whenever he touches the ball. I don't want him going anywhere. I think he's supreme talented individual. His footwork is unbelievable. He does lack the separation, but I also think the Jets put him in the wrong spot to succeed. You know, we talk about this in our personal life, right? If you have an employee that may not be doing the right, do you have him in the right spot to succeed? And I look at Elijah Moore, put him in the slot. Maybe he'll succeed in the slot instead of the outside, right?
Who was the wide receiver you guys drafted the year before?
Denzel Mims in 2020.
He's
in
and then Elijah Moore, right? Yeah. What's going on there? Because Elijah Moore was supposed to be, you know, heads better than Mims.
Obviously, right? Something's going on, but I think they're not using Elijah Moore in the right spot. He's not an outside threat.
So the reason why I ask is, didn't you say the same thing about Mims though?
No, right? Mims can't grasp the playbook, and he commits the stupidest penalties in the history of the NFL. He can't come set. He can't go in motion. He doesn't know what to do when he goes in motion. I can't tell you how many illegal formations we've been called upon with him on the field. And whenever he goes in motion, he can't come set. He can't stop and get set. It's beyond annoying, right? And so he has that problem, plus he has problems with the playbook. But when he gets on the field and the ball's thrown to him, he catches it and he can get the yards after catch. it's amazing to me that he can't comprehend that, and the Jets can't figure out a way to fix it because the kid is talented, and at some point he's going to get traded. And when he gets traded and he figures this all out, or maybe they just line him up on the outside and say, you know what, Denzel, we're not going to put you in motion. You're just going to line up and do your thing. And then they're going to have a special receiver because Mims will be able to play in this league without a question. Elijah Moore, we're utilizing him wrong on the outside. He's not an outside guy. Put him in the slot and he'll be amazing because once he touches that ball, his footwork and quickness, he's something special to watch. Put him on the outside and doing these deeper routes. He's not fast enough for that separation. He just can't get it. So I think part of it is the Jets and part of it's Elijah Moore. But at the end of the day, you're a second-year player. You just can't, in my view, you just can't be that outspoken, right? You haven't made it yet. But at the end of the day, it came out this week. It's just disappointing because the way the Jets are going, and then we got Denver, right? And it's a winnable game, right? Then you got New England. Not that you never look ahead.
Stop. Yeah, stop right there. We just go one game
at
a time.
That's in front of you, right?
There you go.
It's a winnable game. Russell Wilson, obviously he struggled, right? You had Melvin Ingram upset with his carries. Nathaniel Hackett's now saying he's going to get him. He's now the starting running back this week all of a sudden. But when I look at Russell Wilson again, when you watch that game from last week, he is missing receivers wide open. He's not even seeing them right in front of your face. It was a great breakdown that
yes.
I watched. The tight end was right there in the middle, and he takes the sack. Like he was wide open. You got 6 yards on the play, guaranteed you had 6 yards. And takes the sack.
That's because that's in his mind right now. I think I'm not a Russell fan. We know this, right? But I think that in this circumstance, and it may be similar to what was going on a little bit in Seattle, you go with who you trust or who you think you can trust, right? And in Denver, if you think you can trust Judy or you think you can trust Sutton, and probably Judy over Sutton, then that's all you're focusing on, right? Because you're like, I know that if this guy breaks open, I can get him. All the while, here comes this guy wide open, flashing like, I'm good. And then you take the sack because you're waiting for that long developing play down the field that ultimately, if your line's not holding up, you get the second. That may be part of what's going on with Russell. I'm not making any excuses for him because, again, I am not a Russell fan. I just love what I love right now is listening to Marshawn. I love listening to Richard Sherman. I know they had a conversation on Richard Sherman's podcast, and without saying it, they said it, right? Richard Sherman on the Thursday night broadcast, without saying it, he said it, right? And they're all saying it, and it goes back to that Super Bowl, and I'll call it that. It goes back to that Super Bowl where Marshawn got you to the one, and you decided you wanted to be a hero. You decided you were going to audible, and you're the one that threw that interception in the end zone, right? And there's no other things that need to be said, right? The whole team, all 52 of those guys knew who called that play, right? And that shattered everything. So, but Stevie D, when we talk about your Jets, again, your Jets are we said that this is going to be a different Jets team this year. I didn't think that they would be where they are record-wise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's aligning to close to what we thought. I think if I finish out the rest of the season, I think I have you guys 11-6, 10-7, which is, I had you guys, I think 10 wins. If we go back to the previous podcast, I think I had you guys at 10 wins. I think you had them between 9. Yeah.
7 to 8 is what I was thinking. 9 would be, man, you really did good at 9.
And I think that's where they are, right? And, when you look at the power rankings, that was something else we were talking about. Looking at the power rankings, this is I'm not throwing shade, no disrespect to the Jets. I think the league is just bad right now. Yeah, when you look at those teams. But I think where you are listed in the power rankings is about right. You guys are in that top in that higher quadrant because you're better than all these bottom feeders, right? You got a bunch of teams like Cleveland or New Orleans or whoever you want to throw in there that are just flailing. right? They're fledgling teams that they don't know how to get it right. You look at Indianapolis. What are you doing, right? And here you guys are. And even more reason why you should be in there, because you're taking the proper steps to get to that next echelon. And you're doing that. So
the measuring stick, for that first half is really the game up against Buffalo, right? We're going to see where we are on the measuring stick of, do we lose to 45-17 like we did last year, right? What improvements do we show against Buffalo? Because to me, Buffalo, Kansas City, stop measuring. We don't play Kansas City this year.
I don't agree. I disagree with you on that. I do.
I want to see where we are competitive against a really high octane offense, and then a defense that can get after it.
Did the Jaguars think that they were on their way after they beat Buffalo in that game?
No, but to me, for me, it's for me. I'm not saying
so. You're justifying it, but I think really whatever happens, win, lose, or draw in that game, win, lose, or draw. If you could see the growth in your quarterback, if you can see the growth that you're seeing in your running backs, if you can see the growth in your offensive line, if you can see the consistency in your defense, doesn't matter who's in front of you, right? That's the barometer. As we know, any team can win on any given Sunday.
Right, we're seeing that. Yeah, a team can lose any given Sunday, but it's for me. I mean, you have your opinions, I have mine. My opinion is to me, the Buffalo is a measuring stick of how far we're coming. Even if we lose the game and we're competitive. Last year, we weren't competitive against Buffalo. It was a disaster. It was an embarrassment of what the Jets put out on the field last year. I mean, that's what it is. It was an embarrassment. And so now with all these young kids coming in and re-energizing, and you look at the team at 4-2 and you say, okay, they're playing good football. I want to see, can we play that good football against the Buffalo Bills? That's what I want to see, right? I'm not saying we have to go win the game. I'm not saying if we go and win against Buffalo that we're better than Buffalo, right? It's like Jacksonville. Just because they beat Buffalo that year doesn't mean they're better. They were better that week. I just want to see the progression for these kids when you're going up against a team that is an elite team. We haven't faced an elite team. I want to see how they handle playing an elite team that's elite in all three phases of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I do. I hear you.
You want to see how you handle that. And
I think sometimes
it's over.
I think sometimes the better test is how you fare against teams that are not as good as you. I think that is the better test.
You play better, you concentrate harder against a better team than you do on a team that you supposed to beat. And we know as Jet fans.
Well, you had that against the Steelers, right? What'd you do against the Steelers? Right? Well, you guys played the Steelers. They're in my book right now, they're an inferior team. And at the end of the day, you guys ended very strong. And that showed that progression, right? You talked about all the different things, right? Come from behind or playing with the lead or what you're doing on the road. But that's the type of game, in my opinion. And you're right. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But that's the type of game where you could see where there may be some immaturity, if you will, sure. Right? Mm-hmm. And what we saw in that was not the immaturity. We saw a team that played tough in the first half and then started to assert its dominance throughout that second half. And then it got to the fourth quarter and it was over and they put it away. And that's what you expect. And that's what you need to have happen, right? When you're playing the teams that are on paper, we'll say on paper that
you're trying to be very careful with your words here. You're trying to be very careful with your words.
No. I'm just in all seriousness. When you play teams that are on paper higher than you, right? There's the expectation. There's not as much of an expectation for you to fare well, right? And so then all of a sudden you have that. It's a little bit disproportionate, and so I don't think that that's a fair barometer because there's too much in there, right? But when you play the teams you're supposed to beat. And you beat them handily, right? Now you're saying, okay, we can take that challenge. And then you go to the teams that, the next level. But I think you guys right now, Again, power rankings that have come out have you as high as 7. I think that's legit. I think that you guys have proven throughout this season, and it's fair or unfair, but it's look at who else is out there. But I think, there's a couple other teams in there, and I think you're better than that. And that's why I say 7 is a legit one.
When I look at the schedule, there's only one team that I hope we beat the Buffalo Bills, but there's only one team on the schedule that I look at and I say we can't win. Like if I was going to say that's a loss, it's to your team. Every other team on there,
you can't win.
No, but every other team, I think they're going to go in and compete, and they have a shot to win. We're just talent-wise, or offensively, Zach is not ready to lead us. When we play Buffalo, we got to hope that our defense is able to contain, get the rush, and force some turnovers, and hope Zach can do enough on the offensive side of the ball. It's kind of like when Sanchez was a rookie. You relied heavily on the running game. Your defense forced turnovers, and we found ways to win a game. Zach is not ready yet. He's only played 16 games. He's not there yet all the way. There's a lot for him to learn and to get better at. What I like about what Zach's doing right now, last week, he didn't have to throw the ball. His running game is averaging almost 6 yards a clip. And in the fourth quarter, he said, I didn't need to throw the ball. I don't need to throw it. I'm going to hand off because these guys are doing it. And he played smart football. And he didn't turn the ball over. It's 9 quarters in a row that the Jets have not had a turnover for 9 straight quarters. So, good for that, for the team. And they're winning. They're not turning it over. It's fun and exciting watching these young kids.
It is. Yeah. So the other game that we had this past Sunday was what everybody was trying to hype up. And I was stop with this, right? The rematch, right? Oh, look, just in time. Congrats to your Bills. It was a great game. I don't see anyone other than those 2 teams coming out of the AFC. And I'm just about to talk about that one. Thanks, JB. Another former member of OW Sports Podcast.
Everybody's coming out.
Yeah, right? Getting the gang back together. Stevie D, everybody want to talk about rematch. Everybody want to talk about revenge. That ended as soon as that season ended, right? And I keep trying to tell people that it ended then because, the teams, as much as they are the same, they're completely different. Tyreek Hill, gone, right? You have other players that were gone. You had players that may have been hurt. You had Harrison Buckner, who even kicked a 62-yarder coming off of injury, right? You didn't know how he was going to be. Yet on the Bills side, you look at, some of the changes that we had. You look at Micah Hyde on injured reserve, Tre'Davious White now practicing but coming off of injured reserve, Brian Dable, the offensive coordinator, now with the Giants, doing quite well, by the way. But then that put Dorsey into that seat, right? There's changes on the offensive line. Von Miller's added. We didn't have Von Miller last year. So it's not a rematch, right? People stop saying that.
There was one thing that was the same. There was one
thing. The
logos.
Logos.
What's with you giving up points with 15 seconds left?
Oh, don't get me started on that one.
What in the world? So some things didn't change when it comes to that. 15 seconds left.
See, you're supposed to be my friend, my brother, and you're trying to put me back into that 7 stages of grief, right?
Well, when you tell me,
I've given you love all throughout, talking about your Jets deserve to be the 7. You let me talk about your, no. We'll finish talking.
No, but I do want to talk about that because it did anger me there at the halftime. Like, God dang, seriously?
Yeah, it was really bad there, and it's fear. Sometimes you play too soft, but what was interesting with this game. I think that the networks tried to hype up this game for all the wrong reasons. You didn't need to hype it up. I mean, you had arguably the 2 best teams in the NFL, right, who were meeting, and the schedule makers put it when they did, right? You put it a little bit so that everybody can get through either the early injuries, so that everybody can get kind of warmed up, if you will, right? Kind of be on the same page, and then you have that game. Year after year, there's always a big matchup. It used to be Indianapolis and New England, right? It would always be week 6 or 7. Go through all your stuff, and here we go. We have this game, and so here we are, right? So there was no need to try to hype this up other than what it was, and what you saw was 2 good teams that came out to play, right? And it was interesting. For some reason, we keep losing the toss, by the way. We don't win this opening toss because we've been receiving the ball now for the opening kickoff for like the last 3 or 4 games. But we went down the field, and then all of a sudden we had the turnover. And, I was screaming early, right? Isaiah McKenzie, your time is up, right? Your time is up. We've seen Khalil Shakir, and we saw what he could do coming out. We've seen what he's done in the limited time that he's been out there, and that's focus, right? That fumble was focused, but then you had a turnover in the red zone. Don't like the play call, by the way, but you had a turnover in the red zone. Then we were able to respond. As the Chiefs were coming back, we were able to respond to get the turnover of ourselves, and then it kind of just balanced out. And you had the 2 teams going back and forth. To your point. Before half for Buckner to get that 62-yarder. At least it was 62 yards, and not the other one was like 48 yards. So at least he had to try to get to it. But just soft play. It's just soft play. And I think everybody's afraid of over the top, and they leave the middle open. And right now that's the feeding zone for Mahomes. Right, that is absolutely his feeding zone. If he can get Kelsey in the seam, which seems to be like that all the time, thank goodness they didn't have Tyreek Hill, right? Because if Tyreek Hill's there, right, and you're playing that cover 2, and almost playing quarters, right, then you're leaving that middle wide open. I know you want to say something on that, Stevie D. Go ahead.
No, I don't. No, I don't want to say anything. For me, the most disappointing play for me was the missed tackle on Juju Smith-Schuster when you had 3 Buffalo Bills there. I don't know if they were trying to go for the knockout, but you got to shore that tackle up, and you gave them a free touchdown right there, right? I mean, that's just inexcusable. I don't know the players that were all involved in that play offhand, but that's inexcusable to allow that to happen. And I look at the Kansas City Chiefs offense. If you take that play away, which you can't, but if you did, what did they really do offensively for really kind of asserting their will downfield? When I look at the Chiefs offense, I just don't see explosive plays out of that Chiefs offense. So,
one of the things that I wasn't trolling actually, sent good messages, right? But just reading what the other side was saying, and they were coming down pretty hard on Edwards-Helaire. They were coming down pretty hard on the fact that not using what's the rookie's name, Pachero, 7th round pick. Where they feel as though that he could be more of a difference maker, right? Those are some big things there. But the other thing, and I do want to talk about this, was the Chris Jones play, right? The officiating has got to be better. It has got to be better. How do you
miss that trip? How do you miss that?
The official is standing right there. I mean, literally right there watching the play. And you see the trip. And it wasn't like an accidental trip or anything. I mean, this was just blatant stick your leg out and trip. Now, everybody wants to say, well, he was being held. Okay, that's all well and good. There's holding on every play, right? But the tripping one, that is a 15-yarder for a reason, right? Holding is 10 yards for a reason. And when you're standing right there, you have got to call the penalty.
Yeah. Tripping for me is there. I hate that. I hate when players do it. We see it too often. And let me tell you something. These guys are big boys, and if you're running and you're tripping somebody, you can seriously hurt their legs, right? Seriously hurt them, and it's a nasty play. Chris Jones, you did it on purpose. That was intent right there to trip. That right.
It was.
It was there, and it's a shame on the NFL for the official there not throwing the flag. I don't know how he didn't see that. I don't know what he was looking at.
He did. He did. The other thing everybody's talking about, the hurdle. right? Josh Allen again going airborne just before the hurdle, and I don't know the defensive back's name, but did you see the move that Josh put on him? Broke the ankles, right? This DB is now falling all backwards, right? Because Josh shook him, and then he hurdled. That to me was bigger than a hurdle. I mean, the hurdle's becoming almost second nature, right? If you don't see it, you're like, well, Josh, how come you didn't jump over this guy? Right? So
I
that's
worry about the hurdle, which Josh is just so athletic, right? I mean, let's call it what it is. He's so athletic, this kid. What I worry about plays like that is when you go in the air, you leave yourself susceptible as a quarterback for so many different injuries. When you leave your feet like that, landing on your throwing shoulder, things like that. Those are the things that you watch it and you marvel at and say, man, this kid is just a stud athlete, right? He can do it all. And then you worry about that flip side of, man, what if he came up and caught him in the groin and next thing you know, he's doing a Don Beebe, right? And it's just like, man, is it really worth it for that extra 8-9 yards in there? But when you watch the play, you're like, damn, dude, this guy is like ridiculous athletic. Yeah. And then when the play is over and you got time to decompress, like, man, I don't know if that's worth that risk. Like if I was in risk management for the Buffalo Bills, McDermott, what are we doing here? The risk is too much, it's too great, right? And he hangs up the phone and says, we're in the middle of a game, leave me alone, right? So it was a play, man. That kid is just something else to watch.
Yeah. So CBD, we're actually running a little longer than we normally do. So we're going to come close to wrapping this up. Obviously, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the coaches on the hot seat. And guess what, CBD? I'm on a bye week. So we can then take that and move that to next week. I'm going to kind of decompress. I myself personally needed this bye week. I wish we were back to the 2 byes because when you get in games like we had against Kansas City, there's just a lot of pressure, right? And I don't think people understand.
Who do you got after the bye? Who do you got after the bye?
Who do we have after the bye? I wanted to say
you have a really.
I wanted to say it was. I think it's a winnable game, but don't let me say that. I don't. I have to look, Stevie D. I don't know who we have after the bye. We have the Packers. NBC 8:20.
You at home?
We are at home. Yes. And then we
you said Sunday night?
Yes.
No Al Michaels. You must be excited for that.
Yeah. Then we travel to CBS's Game of the Week in New Jersey. And we'll be facing a team in New Jersey the week following. So you wanted your opportunity. Well, it's coming in 2 weeks, and you get it in. So, yeah. We will still continue though, and next week's show we will talk about a little bit more about the coaches that are on the hot seat. We've kind of reached that quarter pole here. We've already seen one that's been kicked to the curb, and there's some others who realistically are on the hot seat and potentially on the verge of being replaced mid-season. Right.
I know we wanted to wrap up, but there was one topic that I totally forgot. Robbie Anderson getting traded from Carolina to Arizona, right? And Steve Wilkes, who's the interim coach for the fired Matt Rule, Robbie Anderson got in it with his wide receivers coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wilkes said, I have enough of this. You're out of here. And he throws Robbie Anderson. And he has somebody escort him off the field back into the locker room, and the next day he's traded. So I thought that was quite a turn of events. Everyone was thinking about Christian McCaffrey, right? Getting traded. CMC, I think is his nickname. Oh no, it was Robbie Anderson was the first one to go. So
maybe that's what Christian needs to do, right? Just get in the argument with the running backs coach, get tossed, we can make that deal happen right away. So, of course, we can't end the show, Stevie D. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but again, Brett Favre needs to go to jail. Accountability, people. I'm just going to keep saying it. Accountability, right? And when you do dirt and it comes to the surface, you need to be held accountable. And we'll continue to press this at least. And, in all fairness, which I don't think it's going to happen. But in all fairness, if there is evidence, if there is information that comes out that it truly exonerates Brett from any of the wrongdoings, we would be the first to say, you know what, we were unjust in that. However, right now, all the information that's come out, all the information that we've read, all the interviews that we've seen, all the text messages that we've seen from Brett Favre needs to go to jail. Just leave it at that. So for my co-host, Stevie D, and this was a great one, Stevie D, yep. Carolina Teague on, and, she was a lot of fun talking about the Cowboys and extras, right? And this particular topic really got her fired up, which was kind of funny. But we do thank you, Carolina, for coming on, and you're more than welcome to come back anytime. But for Carolina Teague, and then for my co-host, Stevie D, we'll talk to you soon.